All right, great to be with you on the show today. After guests the last couple of days, now you get these two great mugs. All right, look at you. Haircut, trim.
I know, special occasion. Return to the show, I had to trim the hair.
My goodness, like looking sharp. Oh, boy, I feel bad now because I bought you a comb. That's so short you don't need it. All right, so we had Ryan Snyder on the show, a couple of days ago, I think it was?
Yeah, Tuesday.
On Tuesday. And we were talking about this Black Friday game, and it ended up being confirmed yesterday that it's going to be NBC, 7:30, but the game is going to be at Ford Field in Detroit. So there are let me give you a couple of elements here that make this exponentially more palatable for Penn State. All right. Number one, so it actually be 3 points. Number one, it's a road game. So you're not giving up a home game. It's a road game. Mm-hmm. Number two, right, you are playing it on the road, but it's fall break at Penn State, so there are no classes that week. Yes, you'll have to adjust how you practice, but you have more time to do it. The players have more time to do everything. They are not on a crunched academic schedule that particular week. They're not heading into finals. They don't have classes, so that makes it a little more palatable. Number three, you're playing indoors. So you're not worried about temperatures, new venue. Penn State fans want to go. That's great. You know darn well it's going to be indoors. And the Lions will play the Packers there the day before. It doesn't take much to change over. I mean, no. It does take a lot to change over, but these guys are so used to doing it. It's almost machine-like with the way they take care of fields to take it from one to the.
You're also changing over the same sport too, which helps. If you're freezing the ice and you're suddenly throwing the floor, then it's a little bit different. No, you're changing the same sport. And with all due respect to the great talent that these people do an incredible job, but yes, it is probably. I've never done the job, but it's probably easier when you're changing over the same sport.
They're good. I mean, look, they're good.
Phenomenal.
I'll never forget it was Friday after Thanksgiving. It was Black Friday. Penn State had a home football game, so I was able to do the basketball game at the Barclays Center. The Nets played in the afternoon. Well, they are not playing this tournament on the Nets court. Okay? The Nets court is specific to the NBA. There's not additional lines on there. It is the width of the lane is specific to the Nets. The three-point line is specific to the Nets. And so they have to take the court out. It was an afternoon game, and they had to assemble the college court to put in. And we started the pregame show, and they weren't quite done yet assembling the college court. Penn State was getting ready to play Syracuse. So Penn State actually did its but they did its pregame warm-up back in the Nets practice gym in the back of the building. But I looked over at Dick Girardi, and I said, what are the odds we're ready to go at 7:30 for this game? And you know what? 7:32 that tipped off. I mean, they may have taken it right to the wire, but they got it done. So now back to Ford Field. Those elements all make it exponentially more palatable for Penn State. Yeah. You were involved in this deal with NBC. And look, it is not uncommon that you have some details that need to be ironed out in contracts, but you already have everything agreed to in principle that you want to do. We know what the Big Ten schedule is going to look like. We know there are 8 Peacock football games. We know 4 of them are conference games. We know 4 of them are non-conference games. Okay, that's the breakdown on it. And they do break it down. You look at the contract, and it breaks down exactly how many conference and non-conference games there are supposed to be. It does the same thing for men's basketball and for football. And it's all right there on the chart they put out August 18th last year. So the Black Friday game in prime time is there. Now, this came up, and as you know, I've been with the Big Ten announcers. We had a golf outing, which was Don Fisher of Indiana was the host, and it was phenomenal. And when the announcement came down that it was going to be Ford Field, that's the first thing. Gary Dolphin, the Iowa play-by-play announcer, and Steve Rowe, who's now retiring after 33 great years at Iowa. Steve is a pro's pro and an even better guy. And, man, he's a good golfer. He shot 82 yesterday. Jeez. Oh, no, he shot 82. Right? Now,
I shoot that in the back nine.
Oh, no, I played with Eric Suhr. Now, Eric Suhr, who's the analyst on the Indiana network for basketball, his dad, Buck Suhr, was on the football staff and was Don's analyst in football forever. He was one of the greatest guys going. Jack Ham thinks the world of him. So do I. Well, Eric is Buck's son. Okay, we played the Falk course yesterday, and which is Indiana's course. He shot 1 under par 70. No, it was. I played in the same group with him 2 straight days. It was a pleasure watching him play golf. Dolphin was terrific. I was with him. I was with Mike Grimm in Minnesota, and then yesterday Paul Keels and Brian Bush from Minnesota, from Michigan. And of course, Paul, the Ohio State player, and Paul really hit it. I thought he hit it really well. So did Brian. Brian pounded it. Mikey was short game. Short game bailed me out left and right. And I'm not kidding. Like I eight putted 1 green. I 1 putted 8 greens. It's like that makes a big difference in your score.
Yeah.
But back to the point, we're sitting around at dinner on Tuesday night, and the Ford Field story comes down. And the first thing that Gary and Steve said, Gary Dolphin and Steve Rowe, was like, oh, good. That means our game is the afternoon game because they always play Nebraska on Black Friday. Well, it turns out that their game it looks like it's going to be, it's either going to be 3:30 or noon. Depending on what, I think it's going to be noon because I think CBS has a game in the afternoon. So I think the game is going to be 11 a.m. on Black Friday, but it's in the contract as to what you do with, as to how this lays out. I believe that I think it's next week, we get the announcement on the kickoffs for the first 3 games of the season. But one thing that is interesting to this point, and you have to keep asking yourself this question, what don't they have right now? They don't have a 2024 schedule yet.
No.
For anybody. Now, 2024, the season is still 15 months away. I got it. But usually, at least by now, you at least have the basics of who you're playing. And a lot of times, it's like pretty close to what order you're going to play.
Yep.
They don't have that yet.
Yeah, no. Especially that first part. Second part, you can wait. Second part, you can wait till after the season. That's not a big deal. But when not having the opponent's period to who you're playing is a big difference. I think that's the one thing that is different from other years completely. And, it's going to be very interesting to see, when you find out about that and, who you draw from the other side, who you draw from the Big Ten West, and, what's going to happen.
It's going to be a 1 through 16.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a question of how you want to schedule.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been announced yet how you're going to schedule it. Are you going – there were 3 of them that they had put out there, and I know the one I favor is 366. And 366 is you have 3 permanent opponents, so no matter what, you're always playing them. And then you play 6 schools, 3 of them home in 24, 3 away, then flip them in 25. Right? Then the other 6 that you didn't play in 24 and 25 join the schedule in 26 and 27. So in a 4-year span, you play everywhere.
Yeah.
You play at least 1 game in everybody's stadium, and everybody in the conference plays 1 game minimum at your stadium. Okay? And that is, and to me, I like that because I like the idea of, to me, it's always important in a conference that everybody plays each other and it's not so sporadic.
Right.
And here's I'll give you an example. Don Fisher has done Indiana football and basketball for 50 seasons. All right. Minnesota built its new stadium in what, 2008, 9
or so, yeah.
I remember, yeah, definitely in that, right?
Yeah, because 06 they were still using the Metrodome. 07 they played at the.
Do you know how many games? Do you know how many games Don has done in Minnesota Stadium?
Since 08? One.
One. That's wrong.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. Yeah, no, I agree.
That's wrong. Okay. And Don doesn't miss games. This is not, okay? I mean, we're all like that. None of us miss games. But he's done one. Okay? In their stadium. And I made that point years ago. This is not a foreign point. I remember maybe 7 or 8 years ago saying, Indiana's never played a game at Minnesota since they built the new stadium. And I made that point like 7, 8 years ago. Well, they've still just played the one. Right? But it's laid out for everybody as to what the agreement is. So here, again, to reiterate everybody what's in the agreement, okay? BTN does the usual, all right? So they're going to get 38 to 41 conference games, or 38 to 41 football games this year. Football was conference or non-conference, and 38 to 41 maximum for the life of the contract through 2029. Basketball, they're going to do 126 games minimum, and that's going to be the standard minimum all the way through to the end of the contract, which would be in the spring of 2030. BTM will also get 4 games on the Thursday tournament, men's tournament, and the 4 quarterfinal games on Friday. Women's basketball, they'll do a minimum of 49 games. They'll also get 4 Big Ten women's tournament games on the Thursday and the quarterfinals on Friday and the 2 semifinals on Saturday, plus the Olympic sports, as you know, they'll always do. And BTN has been great for the Olympic sports. No getting around it. Now we get to CBS. CBS, remember, they still have the SEC this year. It's the last year of their SEC deal, so they only get 7 regular season games this year, including Penn State and Iowa.
Yep.
That will take place as a whiteout at 8 o'clock on the 23rd of September. Then, with the SEC now completely going to ESPN from 24 to 29 in football, 14 to 15 regular season games, plus they get a Black Friday game every year. That's going to be the Iowa-Nebraska game. It's going to be Iowa-Nebraska. I think Arkansas is playing that day too. So that's why they've got the 3:30 game. So Iowa-Nebraska is going to be at noon, which will be 11 a.m. Yep. Right? And that's what Gary and Steve were talking about yesterday. They also get the championship game in 24 and 28. Okay. Basketball. CBS has, believe it, I think people don't realize CBS has had a Big Ten contract.
Yeah.
Like for regular season games the whole time. So, well, it's going to continue. They get 9 to 11 games this year and 15 regular season games from 24-25 through 29-30. And they will also get the 2 semifinal games and the championship game in the Big Ten tournament like they have for years. In women's basketball, they'll carry the women's basketball championship game. No Olympic sports. Fox, 24 to 27 games this year, 30 to 32 games from 24 through 29. Remember, there's more inventory. They get the championship game in 23, 25, 27, 29, which is the odd years. Men's basketball, 45 games this year, minimum of 45 games through the rest of the contract. They do not get any Big Ten tournament games. FS1 will do a couple of women's basketball games, and maybe they'll do something with the Olympic sports. It's like very ambiguous there. NBC, and that's what we try to point out to everybody. They get 16 regular season games, okay, for a primetime package. For anybody that's been saying, well, so you're talking about night games in November, okay? You're getting 16 game regular season package in prime time. When did you think the games in November were going to be? Again, when did you think if you're selling a prime time package and you agree to it, are you stunned when you're put at night? It's like they're paying money. That's how it works. If you didn't want to play at night, you shouldn't have taken the package.
Yeah.
Right? And they planned on this the entire time. So everybody is known every step of the way. Now, keep in mind there are 8 new conference presidents. So it doesn't mean you've got a lot of people that were not in the loop as this has been going along because they didn't have their jobs yet. Okay? So you get 16 regular season games. Right? And then starting next year, it's 14 to 16 regular season games. All right? They get a Black Friday primetime game on NBC, and it's going to be Penn State, Michigan State at Ford Field at 7:30 on that Friday. They're also going to get a Labor Day Sunday game. And somebody was asking me at the table on Tuesday night, they said, well, it says, could Penn State be in that one? I said, no. They said they already had the West Virginia game on NBC. Yeah. They said, okay.
Then they wouldn't do it. That's something you're not going to see, I would almost guarantee you. This team that plays on Black Friday will not be that team on Labor Day and vice versa. You're not going to have that.
Right. And same thing, you wouldn't ask Michigan State to do that or Penn State. No. It's got to be somebody else.
Yeah.
The championship game, they get in 26, which has been the part everybody's been like, oh, my God, they took it away. Did Fox know about it? Look, it's okay.
You're part of the contract. You deserve it.
Yeah. They get one.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Fox is still the primary guy when it comes to the championship. Now CBS gets it more often, but Fox is still going to be the primary.
Now, here's Peacock. 8 regular season games, 4 conference, 4 non-conference. Okay. It's right there. Mm-hmm. They get 8 regular season games all the way through the contract.
Yeah, and I like the way they've done with a lot of other things. You look at the Black Friday game, that game's going to be streaming on Peacock in addition to being on NBC.
And I don't think that counts as a Peacock.
No, it's not going to. But you're going to have that option to kind of dip your toes in the water a little bit with the streaming by doing that.
Now, men's basketball, Peacock's going to get 32 regular season games.
Only Peacock.
Right? Here's the breakdown. They're going to get 20 conference games, 12 non-conference games. It's going to go from 32 games up to 47 games, 2024-25 through 29-30. The breakdown each year for that is supposed to be 32 conference games on Peacock for men's basketball, 15 non-conference. Right? And they will also get the opening night doubleheader of the Big Ten men's tournament. So this year, for example, in Minneapolis, Peacock is going to be the exclusive on the opening night of the tournament, not BTN. Women's basketball, 30 regular season games on Peacock. 20 will be conference games, 10 will be non-conference. Right? See, they already have the breakdowns.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And they also get the opening night doubleheader of the women's basketball tournament. And that's how it works. I mean, it's all right there in writing for anybody to see. It's not, everybody acts, oh, here's a big surprise. I'm like, everybody already knew NBC was getting a championship game.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right, Fox was sitting at the table, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. And it's going to, from a basketball perspective, it's going to have the option of just about every one of your games available in some capacity.
Well, that's what you're looking for.
Which is the best possible scenario. And that, I think, is something the fans are going to realize once it starts to come into fruition. We start to see when basketball season starts, the options that you're going to have, which is going to be quite a bit.
Well, I think you can buy these packages, for a month, 2 months, 3 months, right?
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah, Peacock, I think, is going to be starting might even be next month. They're going away from that free service. Comcast is going away from that free service. You are going to pay for it, but I think it's a small amount. It's not going to be an astronomical, like $39.99 a month or anything.
Now, when it comes to November, as I pointed out, this is where USC and UCLA come into play.
No doubt about it.
If you notice, Penn State and Michigan State, let's give Michigan State credit because they said, you know what, it's their home game.
Yeah, giving it up. That's big for them. Absolutely.
They're moving it to Ford Field.
That's huge.
Now, the attendance for the game has been out there. It completely depends on how good Michigan State is.
Right.
Completely. All right. So, they moved the game. I give them credit for that. Penn State acquiesced. As much as they want to play Saturday, for the good of the conference, they'll do it. Just like Ohio State's hosting a night game. But this is where USC and UCLA do come in. You're guaranteed 5 night games in the month of November on NBC. 4 Saturdays and the Black Friday primetime game.
Right.
Okay, so that's 5. Well, who's to say, and we'll use this year's calendar to make it easier, and this is a point I made the other day, but I'll reiterate it here. Who's to say that, you pick a game on November 4th, which I think has always been the last weekend traditionally that you could have a night game at the beginning, is that first weekend of November. Okay, so that's no change. November 11th, who's to say X team doesn't play a game at USC? Okay, you have to travel, but you're in warm weather. Then we get to the 18th. Who's to say another X team plays at UCLA?
Sure.
Then the next weekend, USC and UCLA are going to play each other.
Right.
Excuse me. Play each other. That's 3 of the 5 games.
Easily. At the bare minimum, 2 of the 5. Bare minimum.
But I think you got to be smart about it. I mean, USC and UCLA have to play some home games here at some point.
Right. Yep.
Right. So, you notice I only picked 1.
Yeah. And down the road, obviously, when you get a little bit more expansion, which will come at some point, then you have another Pac-12 team, hopefully, that is in warmer weather. Suddenly.
Who?
Yeah, that's true. There isn't warmer weather.
Okay. If everybody's like, hey, we want Washington and Oregon. You know how cold it is in Washington and Oregon that time of the year?
It is. It's cold in Washington, especially. Yeah,
it's cold in Oregon that time of the year. Yeah. I watched the Oregon State game last year.
It's
freezing.
Yep. But you hopefully try to find, if you get an expansion, you get another team with a warmer climate, there's 3 or 5, 4 or 5, suddenly. And I don't want to say you avoid this mess. That's not a mess by any means. Again, you know what you're getting into with this contract. I think there's no doubt about it. But 3 of the 5, 4 of the 5 right there is taken. Look, and there's no doubt about it.
They've already announced 3 primetime games out of Penn State's 12-game schedule.
Yeah.
That's 25% of the schedule.
Yep.
At minimum is in prime time now. West Virginia, NBC.
Yep.
Okay. Iowa, CBS.
Yep. Michigan State.
And now Michigan State, Black Friday. Okay. Doing their part.
Yeah.
Okay. They've done their part. Ohio State is going to play a game on November, I think it's the 11th.
Yep. State,
latest night game with fans they've ever had at Ohio Stadium. Because during the pandemic, obviously, you did.
Sure.
I don't know if they had any night games. They probably didn't. I doubt they did. But it's like you get the 3:30 in the afternoon.
November. It's night game pretty much. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm saying those games in December during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was dark. But it's the latest night game they've ever had at Ohio Stadium. Ever. Okay, they're doing it.
Yep.
So let's see. Penn State sacrifices. Ohio State sacrifices. Michigan State sacrifices.
Yep. You named Michigan State.
Let me think here.
You take away the state.
Which
there's a
team has made no sacrifices? Just excuse me while I fall
in
down.
the words of Ohio State fans, that team up north.
Or, as some would say, them. But there you go.
Absolutely.
Now, for all we know, we may see the schedule come out, and they did. But, I mean, as of right now, nothing's been announced when it comes to them or any movement they make.
Yeah. Now we already know 2 games in November will probably not be for Michigan, so
and maybe
that leaves 2.
Well, maybe they have the Labor Day Sunday game.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good possibility. Yeah, no doubt about that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the first 3 weeks of the season, I believe, are supposed to come out next week.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be coming pretty soon.
No, I believe that's the timetable.
Yep.
Now, the Pac-12, of course, look, they're all getting prepared that they're not going to get the money they hoped they were going to get.
No, not even close.
They were hoping to get, let's see, Kliavkoff told them in a meeting they could get 42 to 48 million if they could keep UCLA. They knew they couldn't keep USC.
Right.
Private school, they do whatever they want. You know, they try to play the old, look, we're the state school. They play that chip. You're like, oh yeah, please.
Yeah, quite a few schools have played that before and failed.
Here we go. I'd say, over here in the back, could you stay out of the way? Yeah. Just stay out of the way, will you? Right. And so he had told them we could get 42 to 47 million per school. No. All right. And of course, there's no UCLA. They kicked the can down the road, kicked it down the road. Finally, right around December 10th or somewhere in that neighborhood, they finally said, okay, they'll give them a little bit of money and go to Cal and we'll get rid of the problem. Okay. Well, they've been going nowhere since. And we can still get 30 to 35 million. Supposedly the cutoff point's 25. And they're being told that they might only get 20. Because, as Andrew Marchand in the New York Post reported, he says ESPN is not going to solve their problem.
No.
ESPN has...
No.
This is what... Everybody has bid a lot for a lot of packages to this point.
Sure. And there's more to come.
Well, because live sports is popular.
Yes.
It's viewed. It sells.
It keeps subscribers. There's no question about that. Right. Without it, you lose a lot. And
it's something, for example, like you like to watch soap operas all the time. I know you.
Sands through the hourglass, and so are the days of our lives. You bet.
Yes.
I had to suffer through that when I was a kid several times over the summer. That was painful.
But for example, whatever show it happens to be, you can DVR it.
Sure. Right? Absolutely.
I want to watch NCIS. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can DVR it.
Right.
People don't DVR sports.
No, because there's 50 million options now to get the score before you watch it.
Right, exactly. That's why people want to watch it live, because they don't want to DVR it.
Right.
Okay? You don't have people like saying, hey, you should see what happened to Mark Harmon tonight on NCIS.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're not getting the NCIS app sending you 40 score updates.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can DVR shows, or you can go to Prime Video and you can binge watch something like Jack Ryan or Jack Reacher or Mrs. Maisel or whatever it may be. Okay, you can do that. Netflix, you can binge watch whatever. But you can do it on your timetable. Sports isn't like that because the score is coming out all the time, and people are like, I know the final score, I don't want to watch it. Right? That's why live sports is so intriguing. It brings people in to watch right in the moment, which is great for advertisers.
Oh yeah.
But you also are paying so much money for it, and ESPN has paid a lot for rights. So I'll give you an example. This is good for college football, and it's good for programs across the country. But ESPN, outbid everybody by $100 million a year on the college football playoff. Do you know that?
Didn't know it was that significant, but I knew they outbid them pretty heavily.
They outbid $100 million a year, more than the next highest bid.
Yeah.
Really?
And they're getting an ROI on it. There's no doubt.
No, they're getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm saying, though, you want to talk about overbidding, they did.
Sure.
Well, now here's the issue. It's so popular, they know they have to bid for it again. And there are going to be more games. That's why there's an excellent chance that you get a split, at least for the opening couple of rounds, right? Between the opening round and the quarterfinals, you could have multiple TV partners, with then the semifinals and the final then reverting to whomever the primary partner is, and I'm sure ESPN wants to be that primary partner. Right? Makes sense. We're doing this from a common sense point of view, but they're still going to have to pay through the nose to do that.
Sure.
Now what do you do with the NBA? Well, look, you see how much they invest in the NBA.
Yeah, it's not, if they have their way, it's not going anywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they need it.
Yeah.
This is their Wednesday, Friday programming, and plus then they slide over some stuff on Sunday on
and
ABC.
You get one of the conference finals.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you get the finals.
Yeah, and you get
you get a conference final.
Yeah. You get one of the conference finals on ESPN itself, and then ABC absolutely
gets the finals. Right? And that's where they make their money.
Absolutely.
Well,
you have that reach, too. That's the one thing. You're reaching that young audience in the NBA, which you are struggling to get.
That's the 18 to 49 group.
Struggling to get a lot of times for a lot of other sports.
So I was talking about like how things skewed for the NCAA men's basketball tournament. The Penn State Texas game and Penn State Texas A&M and the two conference championship games skewed very well with the 18 to 49 group. Penn State got 4 Penn State games involving Penn State. Drew 14.5 million viewers the last 4 times out. The Big Ten semifinals, the championship game, opening round with Texas A&M, and the Texas game. And the 18 to 49 numbers were excellent. They were excellent. So that's why you're trying to skew it that way. And the NBA skews younger as well, which is big. And so the NBA is already getting $1.4 billion from ESPN per year, $1.2 billion from TNT per year, so $2.6 billion total. They would like to triple that, which they won't, but they'll at minimum double it, all right? You got to figure at minimum they'll double it, okay? And so let's just say, let's go 2.5 times. So $1.4 billion, right? You could be paying as much as $3.5 billion if you're ESPN for the contract. You could be paying $3.5 billion, and TNT could pay, if they keep it with TNT, $3 billion. You know, Fox is not going to bid for it.
No,
Fox is not, and CBS is not going to bid for it. It really comes down to NBC, Turner, ESPN, and Amazon Prime.
Yep.
As to, and Prime is kind of, because it's streaming, it's kind of like in its own realm.
Yeah.
But that's what the bidding is going to come down to. So what are you saving your money for? Are you saving your money to give? You're saving your money so you can bid on the college football playoff.
Right.
You're saving your money so you can bid on the NBA.
Sure.
Right. You're not looking at the Pac-12 saying you're our savior at 10:30.
Nope.
Right. You're not going to do that.
No.
Plus, they will make, if they separate the women's basketball tournament, they'll bid on it. And they'll get it.
Yeah, because you're not going to have much competition.
Right, they'll get it. And they talk, we could get $80 to $120 million. Well, you're not going to get $120 million because if you're ESPN, why would you do that?
No. Yeah, and that's not a knock at all on the tournament. It's just there's bigger stuff that you have to bid on.
It's called negotiating.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt.
Because it's the women's basketball tournament, we'll pay top dollar.
No, you can't.
Okay, guess what? You'll ask for top dollar. We'll come in under that, and then we'll compromise and find it. Sure. It's like Notre Dame football. Notre Dame football. We want $75 million.
$75 million.
Right? Yep. Per year. And NBC's looking at them going, you're not going to get it. Right? And then you negotiate it.
Just ask Notre Dame who are they sharing that money with, and that'll bring it down a little bit right there.
I mean, it's probably going to end up being like 40 to 45
I think it'll be 45,
million.
Maybe 50. It might hit 50, but that's about it. I don't think it's not hitting 75.
I doubt it.
It's not hitting 75.
It's not the ratings home run everybody thinks it is.
No, especially, and a lot of times.
That's the part that I think surprises people.
Yeah, and I think the realization is with Notre Dame now, and it started a couple of years ago, the realization had to kick in that they were going to have to kick into the new generation in the sense that, look, there's going to have to be primetime games at Notre Dame Stadium. There wasn't for how many years, and they got that game with Michigan, first night game, a few years back. You had the game with Clemson, Georgia. Now you're going to have Ohio State this year in primetime.
Right.
You need that. Granted, I think noon kickoffs are underrated. I think Fox does an amazing job with Big Noon. I really do. But
how do they do a great job with Big Noon? Okay, I'm going to pick Penn State against Ohio State.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Michigan, Ohio State. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Michigan and Penn State. Okay.
Yep.
Well, there's 3 of your weekends right there where you got the top-rated game of the weekend because they handed it to you in a silver platter. Oh, and by the way,
you always got to have Ohio State.
And by the way, let's go. USC is going to play. Let's just say Penn State. Well, you got to play them at Beaver Stadium. Let's play at noon.
Yep.
Oh. What the heck? I mean, so it's not like doing a great job with it. They've just said we get the first pick, and we're going to get the best match.
Ohio State, Michigan every year. Ohio State, Michigan is going to be on Fox every year, barring a complete collapse of mismanagement. Yeah, it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. But the coverage itself, I think overall they've done a great job. But to my point, the reality is, at some point, these teams need to be in prime time. The Big Ten obviously sees that. That's clear as day. SEC sees that with the big games. Notre Dame now has seen that the last few years for the first time. And I think that goes to your point, the name itself is not necessarily what it once was in terms of Notre Dame. I think, obviously, that is the most highly coveted job when it comes open in college football. There's no question about that. But the other part of it is you can't dictate everything anymore like you used to be able to do.
No.
Notre Dame, for a time in the 90s, was able to do that. You're not now.
Right. Well, they will be able to get a good contract from NBC.
No doubt.
If that's the route they end up going. All right. They've got all these options because they got to look at now the next 5 to 10 years. They just can't look at the now.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll get the contract they want out of it. Now, they won't get the contract they want out of it. They've got to determine, what is our future here? What are we doing? A couple of quick notes. Number one, you notice they announced Penn State's going to the Bahamas for basketball.
Yep.
I've had people say, "Well, this is great." I said, "Okay, we talked about this the day Mike was hired." I already said this is going to be great for him. That it's already baked in.
Yep.
Okay, this is not the current staff didn't do this.
No,
this was already planned.
Yeah,
it had been planned for months. Mike's going to be the beneficiary of it because I think you can only do it once every 4 years or something like that. So here's the 4th year. That's why they're allowed to do the foreign tour thing. This will be great because he's got all these guys. He's got to bring them all together in a practical application with the extra practices. It's a huge help for him. But this was baked in months ago. That's why when the day Mike was hired, we were doing this. And I said, well, they've got that tournament in the Bahamas coming up in August. It's going to be a great bonding experience. Right? Now I have to sit here and talk about it in May because I was like, can you believe they – I'm like going, okay. I'm glad you just found out. All right. And then, did you see what happened? But again, the fact that it was already scheduled is a huge help. It's going to help this team exponentially because he's got to find out what he has and what he doesn't have before he gets to training camp. And it'll give them extra practices this summer to do it too, which is great. All right. Now, you see USC, what they did. They've got this. They have somebody in the athletic department that doesn't have the title of interim athletic director, but whatever the title happens to be, essentially that's who they are.
That's who they are.
And
minus the title.
And then right, and then they have 3 other people, Sandy Barber being one of them, that are going to help out Steve Weiberg, the former Big 12 commissioner, and I can't recall the third. And I'll be honest with you, Sandy is going to be a big help to them in this regard. right? They're transitioning to the Big Ten. Well, she knows how it works.
Yeah.
That's why I think it was smart.
Smart move. Absolutely.
A smart move on their part.
Yeah.
But from the outside looking in from 30,000 feet, they sure do give you the feeling they're a mess.
No doubt.
Right?
Yeah. There's no question.
I do not know and could not tell you in a million years what Mike Bone did or did not do.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you in a million years. I mean, so I'm staying out of that because I don't like to talk about things I don't know. But right now, the only saving grace on this whole thing for them is it's not 2024 and they're going into the Big Ten now. They can straighten this out however they want and at least have some time to do it.
Sure.
But look, Sandy will help them in terms of the Big Ten part of it.
Yes.
And Steve Weiberg will help them because he understands from a conference commissioner's point of view what is needed. But that's
yeah. And there's also the part where there's certain teams that it's being completely honest, it's good for college football when they are at the prominent level and doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. USC's got to reach that point.
Right.
Now, I don't think they're there by any means, and they've got to reach that point. They have good people now to try to do that and try to right the ship a little bit. Started it with Lincoln Riley. I think you bring him in. I think that restores the name a little bit more. Right. But they still have a ways to go.
There's no question. Then the ACC yesterday made its announcement about how they want to distribute revenue, and it's going to be based on performance.
Right.
So let's start with the basic. It doesn't change anything with the TV contract. There isn't a school in the ACC that's going to lose a dime out of this. Okay? All right. This is based on the college football playoff and the expansion of it, which is additional money. So you're not going to lose any money. You're still going to be way behind the Big Ten and the SEC. But those who perform well, make the playoff, will get a higher percentage of it because they brought it in. So this is about the additional revenue. I'm not sure. The one area I'm not sure, I think it also applies to the NCAA men's basketball tournament. All right. It might, where you might get a little bit more, because you advance and so forth. But for the most part, it's not going to affect everybody's bottom lines negatively because they're still going to get their TV distribution. It's all going to be the same. It's about the additional stuff, NCAA men's basketball tournament, college football playoff. And the college football playoff number is going to go up, as we all know. And so, right? But still, they're going to be way behind. Really, it's just it doesn't change anything for them.
Right.
It doesn't change anything for them. The problems that they had on May 1st that they were mad about are still present on May 25th.
No doubt.
So it just means that performance-wise, down the road, could certain schools, if they perform well, let's say a Clemson does or a Florida State does, will they get a bigger slice from that particular part of the contract? Yeah.
Probably. Yep.
Right. Oh, no, not probably.
Yep.
They will, based on what they say. But it's not going to have people walk out of the room
and go,
be the bottom line.
No.
Everything's solved. I feel great.
Nope.
Everything on that is still in a holding pattern. How about that?
Yeah.
And I don't know, without seeing, they've got everything locked up in Greensboro, which is where the office is. Mm-hmm. And you can't take it out. Right? If you want to go in and read like the whole thing like all of it, not just the grant of rights, but you want to read everything that they have in there, it's like going to a skiff in D.C. I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go in, you can't take it out. Right? You can just go in and read it. Something tells me there's going to be 14 lawyers. 14 sets of lawyers.
Very much ones. Yep.
14 sets of lawyers that are going to go in there and see what they...
Yeah.
But you know what? Every time you turn around, everybody has been saying for years about, breaking grant of rights and things like that. Nobody's come up with one yet.
Right.
Have you noticed? Nobody's come up with one yet? Well, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving a year early. You know, Texas and Oklahoma are playing this year. Okay? They announced 2 years ago they were going to the SEC. 2 years ago. Guess where they're playing this year?
Yeah.
Okay? So they made this announcement in the summer of 2021. Texas and Oklahoma played the 21 season in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
They played the 22 season in the Big 12. They're going to play the 2023 season in the Big 12. And then they finally got out at the end, and they're paying $50 million apiece to do it. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
What does it tell you? If it's that easy, why are they still playing in the Big 12 this year? If it's so easy to just go on, there's all these clauses. No. Supposedly they're very simple documents. All right? Guess what? If it's so easy to break out of it, why are Texas and Oklahoma playing in the Big 12 in 2023?
Agreed.
Why did they pay $50 million each in the final year of the contract to get out to play in the SEC? Ask yourself, these are always ask yourself the common sense questions and then link them. It's not evidently just based on that. You don't think Texas and Oklahoma don't have great attorneys?
I do.
It's a good chance they do.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Right? They have the ability to sit there and go, this isn't going to be easy. You don't think the SEC doesn't know what the deal is? Come on. They're an example of why this is tough to do. You're not talking about two schools that don't have means, especially Texas. At one point during the course of this, the price of oil is $120 a barrel. You don't think some of the guys that are funneling money toward Texas, right? That are boosters of the University of Texas are going, hey, this is very good. Yeah. We're doing great. Right? But common sense tells you if it's that hard for them to do, and you are talking about two programs, especially Texas, that have means, why are they playing football and basketball in the 23-24 season in the Big 12 when they announced 2 years ago they were going to the SEC? It must not be as easy as everybody thinks it is. All right, men's lacrosse this weekend.
Yes.
I know you're already wearing your lacrosse whiteout shirt.
Wearing the whiteout, you bet.
Well, I know it says basketball on it. But
nice. Getting ready. Lincoln Financial Field, too. Should be fun.
Just so you know, it's a lacrosse.
Yes.
It's not a Metallica concert.
No, it isn't. Not an Eagles game either.
No, but
But
did you see Metallica at the Link or at Citizens Bank?
I saw it at the Link. Yep.
Yeah. Was it any good?
Sure, it was. Always is.
Didn't sound reassuring.
Yep.
Well, great to be back with you.
Seeing them at the Lake, seeing them at Wells Fargo. Got to see them at Citizens Bank Park at some day before it's all said and done. Never played there.
Let's close out with 49 good San Francisco seconds.
I'll tell you what, Brock Purdy's ahead of schedule. That's the best part of the news I've heard in a while. I like it. Yeah. And realistically, people talk about quarterback controversy. There is none. It's Brock Purdy, and everybody's behind him if he's healthy. Not a shadow of a doubt. He's earned that.
Oh, you're done. Okay,
I am. Under 40 to hunt.
It's a contractual obligation. All right, back tomorrow. Thanks for joining us at Seven Mountains Media.